next September.
Oh my gosh. I know.
So, today's topics in the next hour, and this will be interactive, so please interrupt and ask questions at any point. There are three main topics. One is basically professional identity, competencies, and evaluation. And in other words, I want to talk with you about making the most of this year on Practicum, where you are right now. And then our second topic is the Practicum application process for 2019-20, and one somewhat significant change to that process. I'm going to go through that. That should not take long, because everyone here is on Practicum. Everyone's been through the process, and most of it is the same. And the third is responsibilities on Practicum and your professional behavior. So, those are the things. So, let's jump in. I'm on Practicum. I hope that it is a positive experience for everyone. I hope that you are having frank conversations in your Practicum seminar with each other and with your seminar leaders about how things are going and what is very good, perhaps, and also what is not so good, and to help one another adjust. This is for people in their first Practicum. How many people are in their first Practicum? This is usually about when you figured out, my Practicum is not all that I wished it was. Is there anyone feeling that? Maybe. No, Practicum is what I wished it was. How many are feeling that? Oh, well, that's excellent. I'm really happy to hear that. So, fantastic. So maybe this is somewhat how you're feeling. I'm glad of that. So, I'm here as your training director, and I know we used to have two training directors. We're supposed to have two training directors again in the not too distant future, and Dr. Lynch is spearheading a recruiting process for that. But our job in the training department is to orient you to Practicum and internship, and I will be open to answering questions about internship as well, for those of you who are looking ahead down the road to that. So we do orient you to those things. We monitor your progress, and I'm going to be talking about the December evaluations, which are going to be turned into us here on campus, so that we are monitoring in written form how you are doing. And we advise and support you as you develop your professional identity and your long-term goals, including your interests for internship. How many people here know someone, an upper-class person, who is applying to internship this fall? Okay. I'm glad. Many of you do, perhaps most. Those of you who don't, look around, ask around, try and find somebody who is applying to internship, perhaps through a student interest group or some other avenue, to talk to about what is it like applying to internship, and how does what I'm doing on Practicum relate to what I'm going to be doing when it's time to apply for internship. That's really important, that you see what you're doing now as part of this whole longer sequence to get me to my long-term goals, whatever those might be. We're also here in training to problem solve, and some of the concerns and questions that you might have about how things are going at your site, you work out with your peers and your seminar leader, and that's fine. Sometimes that doesn't seem to be enough time, or I still have a question, or there's a problem that's going stubbornly unsolved out at my site with me, with the supervisor, what have you. And those things are often brought to training, and I want you to bring them to me, and I will work with you to solve them. And in that connection, I will just mention a common misconception that I keep hearing from students and from faculty. It's like, if I go to training, I'm going to get pulled from my site. Anybody heard that? Ever? Okay, it's around. It's around. It's been said. And that's actually not true, okay? Because first of all, I want to sit down and hear your perspective, hear what's going well, what's going not well, perhaps, at your site. I will frequently check in with a field supervisor and ask them those same questions. What's going well, what's going not so well? And we will together work on a path forward. It is very inconvenient and usually not warranted and not helpful to move a student from one site to another in the middle of the year. That said, it does happen, and sometimes it needs to happen when supervision, for example, is no longer available at the site, and that has happened as one example. So sometimes we will need to move you sites, and that will be a better thing. But most of the time, we will work on finding a solution so that you don't have to sit through the rest of the year with things going not as well as they could. Usually it leads to improvements. We solve the problems. So the better we know you, the better we can serve and help you. So I'm here for that. Okay, I'm in room 517 on the 5th floor. You can find me. Okay, let's talk a little bit about professional identity. Professional identity, I like to think of as a combination of two sets of things. What do I like and what I am good at? And I hope in Practicum this fall you are finding some things that you like and some things that you're good at. Perhaps a certain type of client, a certain diagnosis. I like kids, I like parents, I like adults, I like working with depression, I like working with anxiety, I like working with psychosis, I like working with substance use, etc. What do I like and what am I good at? What are my interests? The other side of that is, what does the profession expect of you and of everybody? And so when we talk about comps exam, when we talk about CRP, when we talk about passing internship, when we talk about licensure, the profession expects competency in a number of areas. So what are those areas? These are the competencies that correspond to the program goals of ASPP. And I took the opportunity this morning because I knew we were starting Practicum Orientations this afternoon to send around the evaluation form that you and your supervisors are going to go over at mid-year. And these sections, and there's one page for each of these sections, talk about the competencies that you're expected to demonstrate, both in various classes here on campus, as well as in your field training. And so I'll just read through them and give you an idea. None of them are a surprise. All of them are things that you've been hearing about and reading about and learning about in classes, so you have some idea of what we're talking about. Ethical and legal standards and behavior. Competency in individual and cultural diversity. Professional values and attitudes, reflective practice, and openness to supervision and feedback. So presumably your supervisors are giving you feedback, and how open am I, and am I learning from that and employing that and putting it to work so that my practice is getting to a higher level. Oral and written communication and interpersonal skills. And this becomes important, obviously, in field settings with our supervisors, with other staff at the site, with co-workers, with co-externs, and of course with our clients, our diverse clients. And do we communicate in appropriate ways with all of them? Assessment and intervention. You've had lots of assessment courses, you're getting more and more intervention courses as well, and those are really the core activities, right, that we are employing with our clients. And if you're on an assessment practicum, you're focusing on the assessment this year. If you're doing the intervention practicum, you're focusing on that this year. Although I believe that really both are involved in every practicum. For example, at assessment practicum sites, are you getting a chance to do feedback sessions with clients and talk to them about the results of the testings that you have done? And what kind of an intervention is that? It's a very delicate, thoughtful, studied, quite a nuanced interpersonal process as opposed to the process of administering tests. And intervention, On what basis are we intervening? What's our conceptualization? Well, that comes out of the assessment, comes out of the intake, comes out of what instruments perhaps we administered at the beginning of working with this client when we began this whole intervention process. So assessment and intervention, I really believe, are integrated in some ways with every client that we serve. And then this last long one, consultation and interprofessional interdisciplinary skills. I'll just ask, how many people are interested in working in healthcare settings? Wow, a lot. How many are interested in working in hospital settings? How about school settings? Any? Not so much. Okay. I wonder why. Okay, that's probably another conversation. The field in APA, this corresponds very closely to what APA is called profession-wide competencies. They have set this one up and established this one relatively recently, recognizing that psychologists are working more and more in interdisciplinary settings, and we need to consult to and work together with people from a variety of professions who have different training from what we have, who have different vocabulary, who have different skill sets, who are assessing for different things, who are intervening in different ways, and we need to understand what they are saying and what they are doing, and we need to communicate with them what we are seeing, what we are understanding in our assessment, and what we are doing in our intervention to have coordinated treatment plans. So I happen to have an advanced practicum seminar section, and we were talking today, actually we have two of our students are in two different hospitals serving children, and they're working in multidisciplinary teams with medical professionals on a whole range of medical issues and medical concerns going on, and noticing that with kids who have medical concerns, there are family systems issues. Has everyone had family, or you're having the family course, or is that next term? Okay, next term. All right. So it turns out that there are a lot of family systems issues that come into play when we were talking about kids with health and medical conditions. And so to be able to talk about family systems in ways that are understandable to people who might not have the family systems training to the same extent that we do becomes really important. And to understand, what are they saying about diabetes? What are they saying about weight issues? What are they saying about pulmonary issues or sleep issues from a medical standpoint? We have to be open to and ready to learn about that, so that together as a team we can address those problems. So, competencies. So, I want to say something about the evaluation meeting with my supervisor. And this is a really important thing that you should have happen in early to mid-December with your supervisor. The evaluation forms, as I said, I did send out this morning. It's a little bit early. But to talk about and make sure that that is done before you leave for the holidays. Let's see. I'm going to ask this question. How many people are up to date with your time to track entries? That's fantastic. Okay, great. Well, you know to raise your hand. You know what I like to see. I have talked to students and found out some of them have not entered any time to track since September, and I get a little scolding tone about that. It's really, really important to do that, and I'm going to. The next slide talks about some of that. It's really important to do that, and it's going to be very important to do that by December when you sit down with your supervisor. You're going to print out a summary sheet with the date range for your supervisor's signature. How many hours am I supposed to have by December? In most cases, you should have approximately 200 total hours by December. It is not a firm requirement, but the firm requirement is here. It's 600 hours minimum by year end required to pass. And I want to emphasize that. I want to make sure everyone hears that loud and clear. We don't want to get to June and I see your final hours form turned in and it has 576 hours. I can't pass you. if you have that, or even lower than that. So you need to be on track, and the reason for mentioning this 200 is, have I been absent for a number of days in the fall? Have I had illness or holidays or other kinds of circumstances? Well, where are my total hours at? How long a break am I taking from December into January? Because our break actually brings us back to classes in January. I think it's fairly late this year. It's January 17th or around there. Does anyone remember exactly? Somewhere around there. There's a break at the beginning of January. But am I going to take a break from Practicum that's that long, or what am I going to do? Well, partly depends on, I need my 600 hours. And the schedule that your site maintains with you is between you and your site. It does not need to correspond to our term schedule here. So that's something you should be talking about with your supervisor and scheduling in advance. Because I know sites want to schedule testing appointments for externs out in advance. Or they want to make sure that you're going to be there and attend to your clients. I mean, my clients in my own practice don't like to not see me for longer than 2 weeks in between appointments. What is the need level of your clients? How often do they need to be seen? What kind of vacation could they tolerate without dropping out of therapy, without worsening, those kinds of clinical issues, right? We need to talk about with our supervisors when we're planning this. But I'm calling attention as your training director to the hours issue, the total hours issue. Face-to-face hours expectations. I get this question quite a bit. There are no face-to-face hours expectations for assessment, but I do want you busy seeing a number of different clients for assessment. And that's why we have practicum assignment agreements that say how many hours you're supposed to be seeing clients each week. For therapy, intervention, I would like you to get between 200 and 300 hours by year end of intervention face-to-face experience. So in this evaluation meeting with your supervisor, I'm very much hoping that you demonstrate openness to feedback and learning. Again, that's one of the competencies itself, and I hope that you are there in order to ask the question, where can I improve? How can I improve? How am I doing? What are you seeing that I need to learn more about and do better? And I hope that you are sitting down getting some live observation from your supervisors, or some video observation, or audio observation, or some kind of way to present your work to your supervisor so you are getting this feedback. And I don't want it to just occur for the first time in early to mid-December. If you don't feel you're getting it, I would encourage you to go to your very next supervision meeting with your supervisor and ask this question: how am I doing so far? What am I doing well at? Where do I need to improve? If you don't feel like you already know what your supervisor might say along those lines, then I would ask it openly and really tune in and listen to what you're hearing. So the other part of it is ask for what you want more of in the months ahead. So in December, I would like you to have this two-way conversation as well. I'm sure that as you get more acclimated to your sites, you are seeing what variety in clientele is there at this site in terms of age, in terms of diagnosis, presenting problem, level of difficulty, etc. Type of test instruments that are used. And you might be seeing this variety and saying to myself, oh, I would like to have a case like that, because I've done several cases like this, now I would like a case like that, and perhaps a case like that as well. So if you're doing well with the cases that you have been assigned, I think it will be very appropriate for you to then have this two-way conversation in December and say to your supervisor, I've been noticing that there are these opportunities or those opportunities. I would like to sit in on a group, co-lead a group, see some test feedback sessions, participate in intakes, or start my own group, or work with a patient with such and such a diagnosis, or try these test instruments that I haven't yet been exposed to. Those kinds of things. So propose that. And if you've done well with what you've been given so far, I would hope that your supervisors are open to that, so that in the remainder of the year, between January and June, you're going to have more variety. And so I would say when we're talking about internship preparation, what becomes really, really important is to have seen a variety of clients, used a variety of testing instruments, given therapy, conducted therapy from a variety of different perspectives. And the more of that you have done along the way at your sites, the more different internships could be of interest to you, and the better qualified you're going to be. So, documentation, a few details. This was in the email. There are 2 things that you need to turn in: the evaluation form and your time to track summary form. And I have to put this screaming language in here because some people run late, and this is difficult for us, and it could turn into having consequences for you. Particularly proceeding to further practica or internship, we need the records of what you're doing now. Okay, we don't have in this group MA students applying to the PsyD program, so that's not relevant. But certainly getting credit for practicum. Turn in your paperwork in a timely way. Okay, and keep copies. Okay, practicum hours and applying to internship. In this slide, I want to talk a little bit about looking ahead and looking down the road. Students ask, how many hours do I need? And part of that is because some internships want you to have certain numbers of hours. When I was in graduate school, back in the old days, they did not count hours. And I had a remarkably small number of hours going to internship. This is a different era now, and there are sites that do require minimum numbers of face-to-face assessment hours, and especially intervention hours, in order to consider your application. So if you know right now that you have your heart set on certain internship sites, I would look on apic.org in the search engine, which is organized by geography, by name. You know, it's a search engine, and look at those sites and find out, do they have assessment hours requirements or intervention hours requirements, or both? And ask myself, am I on track, or is that something that I am trying to shoot for in order to be competitive and apply to those particular sites? So that is looking down the road. If you don't have particular sites that you are interested in at this point, I will say to you, a cursory exploration of the search engine on apic.org will show you that there are many, many sites that don't have hours requirements. So it's not a huge issue. If you have reasonable numbers of intervention hours, say 200 plus, if you have reasonable assessment experience, that is our 8 battery requirement minimum, then you are going to be minimally qualified for many, many internship sites. But think about this. All sites want to see your mix of experiences, a variety in your sites, a variety in populations that you have served, a variety in tests that you've administered, and a variety of therapy modalities. So here again, try and maximize what you can get at your current site over the course of the year. Another piece of advice looking down the road, keep test reports and keep summaries of your therapy cases. The applications for internship were just due the first round in November 1st, which was last week. And I don't know how many students came to me in the week or two before, the applicants saying, what is a therapy summary? Which test report should I use? Et cetera, et cetera. I would like you to have a variety of test reports and a variety of summaries of different therapy cases. Yeah, question?
What is a therapy summary?
Okay, yeah, a therapy summary, excellent. A therapy summary really is How many people have written therapy reports for any courses or practicum seminars? Okay, they're like those. They have presenting problem, or identifying information, presenting problems, diagnosis and differential diagnosis. They have conceptualization from one or more theoretical orientations. They have a treatment plan. They have a description of the course of treatment. And then they have a description of the outcome or disposition. Yes, question?
Just to clarify for batteries, does that is it a requirement that you have to have written a report on that battery, or is it just having administered a battery?
It's required that you write a report
Okay.
on that battery.
Okay.
Yes, it is required that you report. Do I have that on a slide? Let's see. I don't have that on this slideshow, but it is in the practicum manual.
Thank you.
The description of the battery. Yeah, so you want to keep test reports, and those eventually you're going to de-identify when you send out to anyone else, right? And you are going to have summaries of therapy cases, which you will also de-identify. Internship sites want to see what kind of work you've been doing with what clients, and they want to see how you think and how you write. So really, everything that you're doing for your courses here that's clinically related is going to be very, very applicable and relevant. So when you are writing up therapy cases for therapy courses in different orientations, that's very related to this. When you are writing up test reports at your sites, it's very related. When you write discharge summaries at the end of a therapy case, that is often has most of the elements of the summary of a therapy case that you would use later on. Yes, question?
I've been getting kind of mixed reviews about, I've been wondering if I know that I want to work with kids, if I stick with just working with children in a variety of different settings or different populations within children themselves. I've been getting mixed reviews about whether or not I should look for adult experience also, if it's something that like I know I want to do, versus like getting a more variety with children themselves when I'm applying for internship and say, yeah, I've only worked with kids, but I've done a variety of.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I don't know the answer for you.
Okay.
That's best if we sat down and talked a little bit more about your long-term goals.
Okay.
That would help, and as well as the practica that you've done so far and are looking to do.
Okay.
One thing that I would say with all questions like that, how much should I specialize? I would say the answers become much simpler or much easier for you if you commit to doing an advanced practicum. If you commit to doing an advanced practicum year, then you have 3-year-long practicum. And so that will guarantee a certain amount of variety for you. I think that it's much easier to diversify your experiences if you have that, and even a summer practicum as well for like a July, August stint at another site. So it becomes easier to cover a variety of things, and it becomes much easier at an advanced practicum level to get a site that allows you to specialize and get into more depth with one population. Okay, I think I've finished with everything on here. I'm going to roll along. Yes, question? Sure.
So you said that you could do like a summer practicum. When would you apply for that?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that practicum application. Perfect cue. Okay. Summer is going to come in along the way in the next few slides. So, practicum application process, you may request up to 10 sites on your practicum request form. You will be given permission to apply to up to 6 sites. And here is the change for this year upcoming. And by the way, I'm going to send this slideshow around to everyone, but you may want to make notes of certain things that are key. This is the key change for this year. You should wait until uniform reply date at the end of March to accept a placement. We are participating now with all of the DC area doctoral programs and asking you to hold on to your offers and reply date at the end of March.
Are the sites aware of this?
Right.
The sites are aware of this.
So,
And the sites will be made aware of it if they are not already
okay,
aware
so
of
we're
this.
not gonna be in a position where they rescind an offer because we don't reply until this date because other students, you know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna be
Yeah,
put in a position.
all
where we lose an
doctoral
offer.
programs
Okay.
now are adhering to this. So, yes.
What if it's our top pick?
What if it's your top pick? Okay, this is good. Is there another question about this? Or is it different? Okay, let me explain. That's a really good question, actually. So, I've been in conversations over quite a few years now with the DCTs and the other doctoral programs in the area. And really the most common complaint from students was, I got pressured to accept an offer at the first place I interviewed, and I was waiting to hear from my other sites, like Children's, like the VA, like St. Elizabeth's, like I don't know what other sites, that didn't get to me till later, and I had already accepted that offer because they wanted me to accept the offer, and training told me to accept the offer, and so I had that already, and I would have preferred the other site. So this is trying to solve that problem. This is trying to solve that problem and really empowering you, the student. And if you, the student, arrive and the DCTs are still in discussions and the date hasn't been set, but I believe it will be the last Friday in March, which is March 29th. If it's not, I will let you know as soon as it's determined. They want every student to arrive at that date having had the opportunity to interview at as many sites as possible and receive offers from as many sites as possible where you do well. And then on that date, you are required to have decided in your own mind, maybe with advice or whatever, which offer I'm accepting. And first thing in the morning on March 29th, call them and say, I accept your offer. And call your other sites, email, whatever, and say, I am declining your offer. Thank you very much for the very appealing offer, but I have accepted a different placement. And so on March 29th, every student will be empowered to go to their first choice where they received an offer and say yes to that offer. So is that answering your question? Okay. That is the intention of this system. Yes?
Is it possible that the sites could fill your slot by other schools who aren't bound by this date?
Every school is bound by this.
Oh, okay.
We were in fact the last holdout.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is it every school in the DC, or every site in the DC area?
Every site in the DC area.
So what if we're applying to like Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware? Is that a no-go there?
In Pennsylvania and Delaware, I would say you can accept an offer.
Okay.
And let me know if you have an offer from a site there. Yeah. But Maryland is participating, Northern Virginia is participating, DC is participating. Yes, question?
I'm debating it if I want to add.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I have a little bit of a question. So, I was kind of like in this predicament. I think I talked to you about it. I did talk to you about it. But so, like, let's say you interview at a site, right? And that's your first choice, and they know they want you.
Yes.
I guess, like, from what I've like heard, like my own frustration, like some other people's frustration too, is that like if a site, if you know what this is, right? The site knows they want you, and you know you want that site. I'm wondering if this.
They can give you an offer.
Oh, okay.
Sites can give you offers anytime.
Okay.
If a site says, fantastic interview, we
Okay.
think you're great, you have the offer. Then you, as a student, can say, okay, on March 29th, I will call you.
Okay. All right.
On March 29th,
So
I will
if
call
you're
you.
not
And you have
Okay.
between that date
Okay.
and March 29th to decide what you want to do.
Okay.
And think, rethink.
Okay.
But March 29th, you have to call.
Okay.
Okay, yes, question?
So can we say, thank you for the offer, I'll call you on March 29th to accept?
I would rather that you not.
Tell them you're bound by the reply date.
Yeah, I would rather that you not. And I will just say that this is a kind of situation that is, you know, it's tempting, right? It is tempting. You don't have to do that. And the intention of this system is to empower you, the student. So I would encourage you not to do that. Yes, did you have a question?
Yeah, so we had talked about, because I'm doing advanced practical health classes, that I may be applying to a variety of places across the United States.
Across the United States.
So when I interview with them, should I let them know if I receive an offer, we've been told to adhere to this date, or?
All right. Out of area sites I should probably put on this, out-of-area sites do not apply, or this time frame and reply date do not apply. They do not, they're not relevant.
Am I able to have that discussion with them from a professional standpoint? Would it be okay for me to have that discussion? Because I don't want to go somewhere else, I'd like to stay here.
Yes.
But if I'm only going to get a VA position, if I have to go to Chicago or something, I want to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
But if like DC hasn't given me a response yet.
Yes, okay, yes, you are welcome to say, my DC area has a uniform reply date of March 29th, and students reply to offers on March 29th. Therefore, I would like to have until March 29th in order to reply to your offer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So good, I'm glad we're asking these questions and getting some clarity about that. Are there more questions?
Oh,
Yes.
Only that you said you sent an email earlier, and I did not get an email from you.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay, you're on Practicum.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, you
earlier
mean like
last
early in
week,
the
right?
week?
It was, no, it was earlier this morning.
Oh,
not
not
yet.
It was this
No, I
morning.
didn't get an email from you.
Me either.
They did not go out. Okay, I'm gonna double check. Okay, sometimes they filled up. Okay, I will resend. I will resend. Everyone on Practicum was sent, and it is an attachment, which is the Practicum evaluation form. I will make sure that that's sent out. Thanks for that. Yes, more questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then move on if you'd like. But I was just wondering if you were gonna put this on the site, or if you were gonna post these, sorry, if we could get a copy of these. PowerPoint.
You're gonna get a copy of the slides. Yes, you will.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Yes.
So when can we anticipate the site profile sheets to be
Okay,
updated?
yeah, okay. I'm gonna move on and go to that now.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay, your practicum intent forms are due today. You're gonna need to update your CV. How many people have their current practicum on their CV? Wow, you guys are giving all the right answers today. This is so fantastic. Okay, those of you who haven't, or those of you who raised your hand and really haven't yet, you need to do it. Oh. Okay, learning about available sites is going to happen soon, and okay. Asking for recommendations, filling out the practicum request form by, I think it's the 19th actually. The last day of classes is the 19th of December. Okay, so I'll just run through these steps again. You're familiar before. Yes, question?
Can you pass a few of those back, the intent forms back? please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Make sure your CV is up to date. Clinical employment, TA positions, research assistant positions, CRP topics, volunteer activities, anything that's new in your professionally related life needs to be on your up-to-date CV, as well as a description of what you're doing on your current practicum that includes what are the different types of clients I've been seeing. Okay? Yes?
How would you include your CRP topic on?
How would you include your CRP topic? It can be in one of two places. One is listed under your current education. You can say clinical research project topic and give the topic and give the chairperson's name. The other place for that information would be under a research section. If you have research experiences, you can list it under there. Clinical research project, in progress, list your topic, list your chair. Okay, good question. Yes?
Does your proposal have to be signed off on before you can list it on your CV?
Yes, it should. Yes, it should. And everyone should be doing that, right? Okay. Ethics, yes, this is ethics of CV contents. It has to be real. Yes, it has to be real to be listed on your CV. This creates your site's first impression of you. I will say that we in training do look at your CVs. We don't have time to write back to you about every typo, about every place where the things that line up don't line up, that something was wandering off to the left or wandering off to the right when it should be straight. If there's some misspelling, or if you put months in 3-letter forms, DEC, and you have up here, and then you have 12 for December down there. These inconsistencies and these things, it's up to you to fix. And if you are not really good with details like that, find someone else in your life who will tolerate that and actually give you that feedback and help you fix it. Because it creates the site's first impression of you. And I've heard at the internship level particularly that one typo, like in the name of the training director of the site, you misspell their name, will get your application tossed and not considered, which is really unfortunate when you spend all these years getting really good as a psychologist in training, right? So we don't want a first impression based on a mistake in the CV to spoil that. So let's get in that habit now. Proofread it, have someone else proofread it, send it to your faculty advisor as well. Keep them up to date on what you're doing. Maybe sit down with them and go over your CV with your faculty advisor. Okay, next step, learn about available sites. Site profiles are being updated on Dropbox. We have sent out word to all of our sites, what's going on in 2019, how many students are you going to accept, at what levels, what application process, any changes to the activities, etc. at your site. These are getting posted on Dropbox, and we will send you, probably in late November, early December, an updated link to the Dropbox letting you know that all or most of our sites have been updated. It's time to take a look. We will also send you an Excel sheet with a list of the Practicum sites for 2019 that is sortable by state, sortable by the Practicum level as well. So you'll have that opportunity. Was there a question? Yes.
I know you're super busy, Dr. Sachs, but I do have a request. If there's any way that you or the clinical office could track the sites that are going to be wanting something like early January or even before that, if you could send us that notification like soon, or just if it's on your radar.
Okay.
I know you may not know.
I understand that can be important.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a little hard to do, frankly.
Okay.
And so what I will say is, if you, in your search of these site profiles, and this is what they look like, obviously, do see, and it's actually on page 2, it's not here, in the application deadline, that it is an early in January application deadline and you want to apply to that site, then call attention to that
Okay.
in your Practicum request. And we will jump on that and make sure that you get your approval and can get that out. And we did that last year.
Okay.
So it definitely happened. Okay, so, question?
And just to clarify, our request form is due on December 19th, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
December
we're
19th.
gonna get this list like late November?
You're gonna get it in time, yes.
Okay.
Look at what levels of site the student a site will accept. Consider your therapy assessment requirements. How many people are on assessment practica right now? Okay, you're gonna be in a therapy or integrated site next year. How many people are on therapy practica? Okay, you're probably gonna be in an assessment or an integrated site next year. Consider special skills and obviously consider your career goals. MA to PsyD students, not today. Okay, summer practicum, the question was asked. There are 3 ways to be on practicum in the summer. The first is you can stay past June 30th at your current site. Has anyone been asked by their current site, can you stay in the summer? Okay, if you are asked, I would advise you to say, I don't know yet. Thank you for the kind offer. It's very nice to be asked. I'm honored. It's part of politeness, right? You might not feel that way inside, right? Or whatever. It's always nice to be courteous and gracious and say, I'm very happy that you asked me. I don't know my plans yet, and will let you know later. I would not, at this time, accept a summer extension past June 30th. Right now, you're obligated to the last day of your practicum assignment agreement, which falls sometime in June, right? I would not commit to that until later. I would see what my options are. later in the spring. I would see how I'm feeling. Am I feeling like a break from practicum? Or am I feeling like a different practicum? Or did I get accepted at a new practicum site that wants me to start in the summer? Or do I have comps coming up? Or am I going to be busy with CRP stuff? Or employment? Or whatever. It's early. You don't need to say yes to that right now. You can say thank you for the kind offer. Let me get back to you later. So, you may continue at your current site. You may start your next practicum before September. You're going to need to notify training about that when you start that next practicum site. And right now, nobody knows, right, where you're going to be on practicum in 2019. So let's at least wait until the end of March or April, and we know what our next practicum is before deciding what to do about this one that we're on. Then we can weigh our options for the summer. Because we do have a third option here. You may do a summer advanced practicum at a different site. And that includes a summer 2 practicum seminar that goes along with it during the months of July and August. And it won't be until late spring that a list of sites will be put together that are offering this experience, because we don't know, we don't ask sites about this until later, and we don't develop that list. So we don't know what's available. I will tell you from past experience, generally it's testing sites. Some neuropsych, some child, some adult perhaps. There are a few different, mostly they're testing experiences, because a therapy experience within 2 months is not too much of a therapy experience. Question?
This might not be a question you can answer, but if we wanted to do a summer practicum, is financially how, do I have to pay out of pocket for that, or is that something that financially?
You do need to pay for summer advanced practicum seminar. And how that relates to your financial aid award is something that I don't know how to explain in proper words. So I would check with student services about that, okay? So yes, there will be an additional summer practicum seminar for that. Okay, so that's about summer. I hope that's clear to everyone. Okay, the test batteries question, it is in the slideshow, it was just later. So this definition is what internships go by, and an integrated report includes a history, an interview, and at least 2 tests from various categories: personality, intellectual, cognitive, or neuropsychological. A comprehensive report providing an overall picture of the patient/client. So that is what you need to do, and you need to do 8 of them. Question?
How is this checked?
How is this checked? It
Like,
is
if
checked
you
by
did-
your supervisor, who signs off on the front page of your practicum evaluation form how many batteries you completed in the practicum year to date. That is the number. Yeah. They know what you're doing. So that's where it comes from. Yes, was there another question? Yes. Yeah, the interview is, okay, this is to do, yeah, the integrated report should include a discussion of the interview, which basically is, what is the presenting problem? What are the referral questions?
But that, but it can also be face-to-face.
Yes, it definitely counts as face-to-face. When you see a client, this is not a time-to-track designation.
Okay.
This is, because the way time-to-track lists batteries has never been clear to me. But when you see a client, record a time-to-track out. Yes.
This
Another-
is sort of specific.
These are good questions,
If
yes.
you have more than one supervisor,
Yeah.
who should you go to with your supervisor report that we give to you for Senator?
Yes, you should have a principal supervisor. It should be a licensed psychologist in every case. And your supervisors, if you don't know which one is the principal one who will fill it out, you can leave it to them to figure out. And sometimes they will both sign. In rare cases, 2 people have filled out separate ones. Usually one person will give input to the other one, who will then do the sign-off.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, okay. All these questions are great, because we could not cover everything in the slideshow. So that's test batteries. Okay, how many people want to stay around the DC area for internship?
No.
No, okay, well, yes, there are several yeses. So, you know about the Mid-Atlantic Internship Consortium. And the Mid-Atlantic Internship Consortium happens to have a number of its member sites that are also practicum sites for us. So, they include Barry Ectum, Basics, Group Practice, Center for Children, Community Counseling and Mentoring, Loudoun County Mental Health, Prince William Family Counseling / Woodbridge Therapy Group under the same owners, and Washington Medical Group. During internship matching, applications will not be accepted from practicum students or employees who were or are at these sites. In other words, if you go on practicum at one of these sites, you cannot apply to internship at that very same site during phase 1 and phase 2. The reason is, we want you to have different supervisors, different clientele, different training experiences from year to year. We don't want you to have the same thing on internship that you just had in practicum or employment. Is that clear to everyone? Yes?
Does this apply to non-Mid-Atlantic Consortium sites as well?
No, it does not.
Okay.
And in rare cases, we have had students, I guess it was DC Superior Court, an extern there, applied to internship there, interviewed there, maybe placed there. I can't remember for 100% sure. We've had externs at Howard University Counseling Center. Advanced extern, did really well, applied to internship, stayed for internship. We've had it at Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. Extern there, applied to internship, did well, got accepted for internship. That's on you. And I would say, am I going to grow as an intern, having already been an extern here? And if the answer is yes, and I really like to stay, this is really my kind of work, my kind of place, I want to do my internship here, then rank it when you get to internship. If not, don't rank it or rank it lower. Yes?
Is this an exhaustive list of the MAC sites?
This is a list of the MAC sites that offer practicum. This is not an exhaustive list of all the MAC sites.
Oh, I was wondering
Okay.
that.
There are others that
Yeah.
do not offer practicum to our students. There's Interdynamics, there is Associated Clinical Services. Those are the ones that I'm thinking of right now. So anyway, but this is about not serving on practicum and internship at the same MAC site. Okay. Ready for the next topic? Okay, let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, ask for recommendations. You can ask for recommendations from your current supervisor. It's a really good idea because they're aware of your clinical work and clinical skills now, and they are in a good position to recommend you. So this is another reason to do well at your current practicum site, right? And a faculty member is also acceptable, and I would think that someone who teaches you for multiple courses, who teaches you therapy courses, assessment courses, practicum seminar perhaps, if you're an active participant in your practicum seminar, really showing off a lot of great clinical skills in practicum seminar. Various faculty members would be good recommenders. Someone who can speak to your clinical skills to supervisors, to sites that after all, that's what they're interested in finding out. And remember, and this is a piece of advice for further along the road, cultivate your positive relationships with former supervisors and former professors. Send them thank you notes. Send them updates on your progress. Let them know of achievements like passing comps, like getting your CRP proposal approved, et cetera, et cetera. Keep them up to date on what happens with you, because when it comes to internship application time, we sit down with students and say, so who are your 3 recommenders? Who are your 2 clinical supervisors? And which professor do you, who know you very well and know the course of your career and know what you can do clinically, who together among the 3 of them are going to present a sense of your academic work, a sense of your testing, a sense of your therapy skills, so that internships will see you in all of your professional glory. So staying in touch with all of these people, your mentors, is really, really important. Okay, Practicum request form, again, the 21st. I think the 21st is that Friday, and that's fine. The 19th is the Wednesday, it's the last day of classes of the term. I will be around the 20th and the 21st, so we'll just stick with that date. List the number of batteries you've completed right now. You will need up to 8. You will need 8 or more by the end of your second practicum. Let us know if you don't have a car. Let us know if you have language fluencies, which are assets at certain sites. Please do consider long-distance sites and sites out of the area. We do value site development suggestions of any new sites. Yes, question?
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of the long distance thing, like, I know on the last practicum listing, there were not many in Maryland.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that has been expanded for this one that's going to be.
What part of Maryland are you interested in?
Any part that doesn't require me coming into DC or Virginia.
Yeah. I think we have a number of sites in Maryland. Certainly Baltimore area has a lot. Montgomery County is kind of thin because they don't have a lot of public funding of mental health services in Montgomery County. Prince George's County has a few.
PG would be great.
PG would be great. So PG has a few that I can think of. So if you know of a site in your area that has psychologists who would be willing to supervise students, put them in touch with me, and we will talk about the suitability of doing an affiliation. We need to sign an affiliation between the site and our university to set that up, and then, yes, that will be great.
It doesn't necessarily, so there's no other real requirement other than the person who staffs the site needs to be a licensed psychologist.
Well, we're going to talk about, if you're a licensed psychologist, do you have 2 hours a week to provide supervision?
Right.
Are you a competent supervisor? What kind of clients do you have?
Right.
Can you assign those clients to students?
Right.
Do you have testing cases? Do you have therapy cases, etc.? Can you provide the work to a student? So we're going to ask a variety of questions and generally do a site visit out to the site, etc. and say, do you have workspace for the student? Those kinds of things. So there are a number of things that need to be in place or need to be planned for to make it really a good training experience for you. Okay, practicum request form. Our approval process, you're aware, will send you out to 6 sites. Apply to those sites immediately or within 2 weeks tops. Get your applications out there. Only apply to your assigned sites. Send the materials that the site wants. All of this is new, is not new, is things that you know already. And interview and do a good job on your interviews. Okay. Selection process varies. Okay. Universal student acceptance date. I believe it's going to be March 29th, and I will get back to you with updates. I think we've talked about that really thoroughly. I'm going to just move to this other slide to talk about responsibilities in professional behavior on practicum, because, and this is just for the last 2 minutes, you have clients now, and I touched on earlier, you're taking vacations affects your clients, it affects your sites. You have responsibilities to other professionals who might be working together with you on a case to keep your records up to date, because they need to know what you're doing on the case. You need to know what they are doing on the case. You have responsibilities to your supervisor, because your supervisor is co-signing your notes, co-signing your assessments, putting their license on the line for the work that you are doing. And so you need to communicate to them concerns that you have about clients, uncertainties about what you're doing or what you are writing about a client. So you have responsibilities there. You have responsibilities to me and training and the department to turn in your paperwork. And so the evaluation and the hours for the fall. I do need those in December, and I really don't like chasing students, so please get those in to me. And communication with training about difficulties in the application process or difficulties at your current site. Let's see. Problems on practicum, we talked about that. I will just mention the categories of professional behavior. Your appearance, keeping to your schedule, documenting your time in time to track, staying in a training role, and we talked about. I think that there are very many positive experiences. How many people consider your supervisor a role model for you in the field? Okay. Have you talked with your supervisor about your goals for the field, where you are heading? Have they started to give you advice on how it was for them when they were a graduate student, when they were going on internship, postdoc, licensure, etc.? Draw them out. Get their stories of how they got to be in that enviable place where they are now. Have those conversations. Make them your mentors. Be an active mentee. I think that that's why most of our supervisors do supervision. We do not compensate them. Often their sites do not compensate them. Their sites may not relieve them of any other responsibilities. In other words, supervision is on top of everything else that you do. And the pleasure of being a supervisor comes with seeing you grow, with being your mentor, with hearing about your curiosity, your interests, your desire to learn and grow in the field. So you have something to give to your supervisor, which is your openness to be a mentee. I will just mention again, client documentation, being prepared for supervision, receiving feedback, doing new tasks, and solving problems as they occur. So I'm going to stop now. I've talked a lot for an hour. I will stay around for a couple minutes if there are people with individual questions. But please bring these up to the front when you're leaving and put them on the front table here. And it was a pleasure speaking with you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You deserve it.
I just like, I'm like,